What is up, everybody? PattySMusic here again today, back at it again with another video. And today I'm going to be reviewing the long-awaited album from one of my favorite bands, Starset. And that album is entitled Divisions. Now, I apologize I haven't gotten to this album review sooner, but this album is one of those albums that you really need to listen to and just mull over quite a bit in order to really get your full thoughts on it. And if I would have reviewed this album after listening to it once, you guys would probably not have liked what I had to say about this album. But this album for sure is a grower, and you can't really understand the beauty and the good parts of this album without listening to it more than once, at least 3 times, if anything. But I've heard this album around 6 times, I believe, already, and I think I'm ready to give you guys my thoughts on it. So today I'm going to do a track-by-track analysis of the album Divisions by Starset and give you my thoughts on it. I might breeze through the track-by-track part if I feel like there's something a little different for me to talk about. But let's just get into it right off the bat. We start off with a brief history of the future, which that is the intro track. I think that this intro track really sets the stage and story of this album very well. It's done very well. I like the words that Dustin uses to start off the entire album. However, it does come off a little bit pretentious. It does come off a little, just a tiny bit cheesy in some parts of this. However, that is easily overlooked because it sets the stage for the overall theme, and I believe the overall theme of this album is, honestly, I think this album is somewhat of a critique on becoming slowly less human, and being more disconnected, and being more connected with technology. And it sets the stage very well. Obviously not a huge part of the album, but it does a good way of introing the album. Next, we have the track Manifest. If you would like to know my entire thoughts on this song, go check out my track review of the song. I have a singular video where I reviewed the track when it was released. And I honestly think that this is one of the most experimental original songs from Starset to date. I love how his voice sounds. It's produced very well. It took me a little while to get used to the production of his voice, but I think now that I've understood the background behind it and the fact that he has less effects on his voice in this song, it just makes me realize how much better of a vocalist Dustin Bates has become. The chorus of this is very catchy despite it being a little long, and of course that bridge builds so well, and you can't help but head bob to that bridge. This just has some classic Starset electronics in it, and it's still nice and heavy. I don't think it's a poppy song. I think this song might have divided the Starset fan base a little bit, in some people thinking that it's a little too poppy, and other people thinking that it isn't. I'm on the latter side. I don't think that this song is too poppy at all. This song gets a 9 out of 10. Next off, we go into a song that has a lot of electronics, and that is the song Echo. This song leans on the electronics way more than it does any aspect of the instrumentals. I personally don't like electronics being the foreground of songs. That's just not my preference when it comes to music. I like rock music. I like hard rock music, so I like the hard guitars being the forerunners for songs. And while you do get some hard guitars in this song, that they're more of just kind of a texture in the song and not necessarily anything that lead the song. I think the chorus of this song is a little lackluster, but lately it's been getting stuck in my head so much, as well as Dustin's pronunciation in some of this song is not very well done. However, the bridge of this song is so good, and the soaring vocals that Dustin uses are raspy, and they're just classic Dustin Bates vocals that anybody can vibe to and anybody can love. I also think that this is one of the strongest songs lyrically on the entire album. I didn't really know that until I actually looked at the lyrics, and I was like, wow, like, it's very relatable. It's kind of one of those songs lyrically that's on par with songs like Let It Die, although, I don't know. Let It Die is definitely quite a bit better than this song. But yeah, overall I'd have to give Echo a 7 out of 10. I did not like that they leaned on the electronics for this one. Next up, we have the song Where the Skies End. I did not do a track review of this song just because I wasn't able to get to it, when they released it. But this is my favorite song off of the album and one of my favorite Starset songs of all time. The intro is one of the best intros I've heard from Starset to date. It pretty much captures the sound that I love from Starset and that made me fall in love with Starset, as well as the band Red. Red is one of my other favorite bands, and they have kind of the same kind of sound, but here Starset has a little bit more of an original kind of play on the idea of they combine electronics and heavy-hitting guitars, plus they have some violins that come in on that intro, and it's so well done. They have an amazing combination of down-tuned guitars and strings, and that riff that makes the song sound super heavy really isn't all that complicated, but combined with all the other elements, it works very well. The lyrics on this song are so inspiring, and this song just gets you pumped up. I love the bridge lyrics. Oh my gosh, the bridge lyrics are the best. They go, "We left these chains, we left them below. We are all rising above, we were not born to stay low. Show me your strength, it's more than you know. You'll never know what you're made of until you set foot down the road. We knew this day was set long ago, and now when the sharks smell the blood, they will all see it's their own." Oh my gosh, so chilling. And the fact that the heavy guitars come in the middle of that, it just gets you so amped up. I also love, I can't remember, yeah, this is during the bridge where you have those violins that come in and they go, and they have like some harmonies, and then it hits into the heavy guitars. So good. I also think that the electronics on this song just work so well, and this is the holy combination of hard-hitting guitars and electronics that I want from Starset. I give this song a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect Starset song in my opinion. Okay, moving on. We have the song Perfect Machine. And this song is a very techno-led song, although, like Echo, it still has some texture of hard-hitting guitars. The bridge is beautiful, probably my favorite part. Man, Starset is so good at doing bridges. The song kind of drags a little bit, but it has a good use of strings, and once you listen to it about 5 or 6 times, it does get stuck in your head, and this is probably one of my favorites off of the album. However, I do feel like this song could have gotten maybe to the level of Frequency, like maybe that good of a song, if it had some classic Dustin Bates screaming. Like, I really think this song could have done so well with some screaming, or at least a little bit of some heavier elements. You'll see that theme running through my entire review, is that I believe that this album just did not have heavy enough elements to it. Like, the album is called Divisions, so you'd think that it would be, Divisions. That sounds like an album it's very heavy and very hard-hitting, but no, a lot of these songs really lean more techno, and I'm not a super big fan of that. This song just needs a scream. Like, it has so much more potential. Although I love this song, the fact that it has potential makes me give it an 8 out of 10 rather than like a 9 out of 10. However, it's still a pretty good song. Next up, we have the song Telekinetic. If there's any song that's dividing the Starset fanbase right now, it's maybe this song. I've heard a lot of different opinions on this song. My opinion on this song is mostly positive. I like this song a lot, although I hope that's not just because it's the heaviest song on the album, but I really think that it's a very experimental song, and it does combine elements that I really like from Starset. The intro slaps. I love the intro. It sounds so good. However, the lyrics aren't some of my favorite, and in the verses, the techno really warps Dustin's vocals. That's in the first verse, however. In the second verse, it gets better, and his vocals shine a lot better, but that kind of thing in the first verse kind of throws me off, and I think that's the biggest thing that throws a lot of people off on this song. Honestly, the electronics in the background and even in a little bit in the intro remind me of an NF beat. I don't know if you've ever heard the rapper NF, but it's really kind of reminds me of that moody NF kind of vibe, but it's combined with some heavy guitars, and I like that. It's so good. For me, when I first heard this song and when I first dove into the lyrics, the word telekinetic didn't really make sense because telekinesis is moving things around with your mind. And he's talking about, like, I can't breathe when you're around me. It's a telekinetic issue. And I don't understand. Like, a telekinetic issue, what the heck does that mean? Like, I can't breathe because you're moving my lungs around with your mind. I just didn't understand it. But then I found out that one of the other lyrics is heartsick voodoo. And so it's basically talking about how somebody having a pull on you, on your heart, is very magical. It doesn't make sense sometimes. It's kind of a voodoo. And so in that aspect, it kind of makes sense. But probably one of my biggest critiques of this entire song is the main hook. Kinetic. You know, that's kind of a weird aspect of the song. However, as I listen to the song more and more, I kind of let that slide because of the rest of the song is pretty stinking good. I'm just going to say it. I love the breakdown and screaming section of this song. I like just the raw guitar in the bridge and how it's just like, I'm a fool again, something, something, you might. And he just goes crazy. And I love that. I wish we got more of that on this album. I wish we did. That's one of the biggest things we're missing from this album, is Dustin Bates screams. I don't want to say Starset went too poppy on this album, but they definitely went softer on this album. And I'm not a huge fan of it. You know, hearing Manifest and hearing Where the Skies End, I really thought that Starset was going to have quite a heavier album. And I heard that, you know, they've been working with Red on their album, although, you know, Red's album Gone wasn't very, well, it was pretty heavy in some points, but you'd think them working with Red and like Saint Asonia, Dustin Bates has been working with Saint Asonia a little bit for their new album, you'd think that would rub off on them and make them a little heavier, but, you know, Telekinetic seems to be the heaviest one on this album as far as raw guitars go. This is not a perfect song, but it's definitely one of my favorites on the album, and at least they try to stay a little heavy in this song. I'll give this one an 8.5 out of 10, baby. Stratosphere. This song is probably the biggest song that has grown on me. I remember when I first heard about the song, not even heard the song, heard people talking about the song. I'm part of a rock group on Facebook. There's a guy on there called Final Beta. He does some great guitar covers. But anyways, he posted and he was like, man, Stratosphere is such a letdown. And I was like, really? And I listened to it, and I think that might have really made me, you know, really, I forget the word, really influenced my thought on this song in the beginning. But as I've gone through this album, this song has become so much better to me. I really like this song. And the reason I like this song is because of the breakdown. The breakdown is probably one of the best breakdowns in this entire album. It really captures the sound I like from Starset. And it's really like a soaring, inspiring sound that I really like. The only thing that I really don't like about this song is it seems like in this song it's written around the word stratosphere. Like a lot of these songs on this album seem like they're written around the word or their title, like they're written around it, and it doesn't seem very organic in some points. And when he's saying stratosphere, floating in your stare, take me far from here. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but in a way, it seems like it was kind of formulated around that idea of stratosphere. And that is one thing that I've been wondering to myself a little bit about this whole idea of Starset. Now, obviously, in Transmissions and Vessels, Dustin Bates did a great job of using this Starset science fiction theme in combination with themes that an everyday person can relate to. He did an amazing job of that. However, I've always wondered if that theme of Starset could be something that could kind of limit Dustin's creativity. Because if you listen to Downplay, Dustin's old band, it's some fantastic music. And I've always just been curious as to whether, this album in particular, you hear some of these themes being a little more forced. And whether in the future Dustin Bates or Starset as a whole can keep this entire thing going, I hope they do. But like there's only so much you can do around the theme of space, so that's just kind of something I've been struggling with. Stratosphere, however, I give that bad boy an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have probably my least favorite on the entire album, and that is the song Fault Line. The reason I hate this song is because it's so poppy, and you can tell that Starset was really just trying to target the mass media demographic, just, going outside of the rock genre, just trying to pull in some more fans, and I'm fine with that. That's okay. Kind of reminds me of the song Telepathic from Vessels. That song was super electronic as well, and that one's definitely probably my least favorite off of Vessels as well. It's just too poppy and electronic for me. It's just not my cup of tea. Also, when I first heard this song, a lot of people have been comparing it to Imagine Dragons. That is a fair comparison, although I think his voice sounds more like the guy from Shinedown. I think this is kind of a combination of a Imagine Dragons and Shinedown kind of song. And if you're comparing Starset songs to other bands, then that means they're not doing their job, because I've always thought that Starset has had a very unique sound. And it's been hard to compare them to other bands besides maybe the band Red. But yeah, Fault Line, I give that one a 6.5 out of 10. Not my cup of tea. Just too poppy for me, although it is pretty catchy, and it is kind of a fun song. It's just not my cup of tea. Next up, we have the song Solstice, and this is another example of the guitars in this album being buried under the effects. This is probably one of the hardest ones to formulate an opinion on, because it's done very well, and the instrumentals are very good, but it just seems kind of like the lyrics on this one are filler. There's a lot of just repeated lyrics on this album, and that's really one of my biggest critiques of this entire album, is the lyrics seem pretty filler. Like, there's a lot of breaking up words and repeating syllables, as well as just repeating full phrases in order to fill the space of instrumentals. And I really like the instrumentals on this album, despite the overbearing electronics. But this song in particular has a lot of lyrics that are just, repeated. You take the pain away. You take the pain away. I mean, that's such a simple theme, and I like that theme. But it seems like you could have done a little something different, and the instrumentals, however, are pretty experimental for Starset, so I'll give them that. And I really like the extended outro on this one. It continues that classic Starset feel. Probably one of the only outros on this album that's really got a Transmissions vibe to it. There's a particular part, like 3/4 of the way through the Transmissions album, that this outro reminds me of. Solstice, I give that one a 7.5 out of 10. It could have been better, although it does have some pretty inspiring lyrics in it. Okay, let's move on. I need to move on. I'm already going pretty long on this one. The next one is Trials, and this illustrates my critique a little bit better. These trials make us who we are, we're motivated. That was super flat, I'm sorry. But you get the idea. That's my biggest critique of this song, is the chorus. Just that part, these trials make us who we are, who we are, who we are. Why didn't they just put another line in there where they're repeating the who we are? These trials make us who we are. Hold on. Yeah, these trials make us who we are, and we will not break. We're motivated by the scars that made us. See, that works so much better. And while "and we will not break" is a pretty standard rock lyric, you know, Dustin Bates could have come up with something a little different. Like, that's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of lyrics on here that just fill space. However, besides that little bit, the little stuttering, the riff after the chorus is insanely good. Just the opening of the song is so cinematic sounding. I love it. It's so good. I'm not a huge fan of the overly techno verses. You know me, I'm not a huge fan of overly techno stuff. But I think this song works pretty well. However, yeah, I don't have much to say on that. This chorus is the biggest problem for me, and the instrumentals slap, and they sound super cinematic. Overall, I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Waking Up is the next song, and this song sounds super poppy. That's what I had in my notes. It sounds super poppy. Still has some orchestra in it that adds a cinematic feel, and I like this one better than Fault Line. But the drums are very reminiscent of a top 10 pop song, and there are definitely some parts in this album as a whole, and mostly in this song in particular, where you can hear that the drums sound very fake, like fake electronic beat drums, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. A lot of these lyrics feel like space fillers. I put that in my notes, so, you know, that's what we'll go with. However, this song still retains a little bit of that otherworldly space feel that I like from Starset. And while a lot of these songs, I guess I could say it like this. A lot of these songs I'm not a huge fan of at the beginning, but you get to the bridge, and I just love the bridge. Because whenever Dustin Bates, it strips down, and it's just him singing, I love those bridges. So, however, this Waking Up doesn't really quite make the cut for me, and it's one of the weaker on the album. I give this one a 6.75 out of 10. Next up, we have Other Worlds Than These. This has a super unique intro, and when I first heard it, I rolled my eyes. Because coming off of the super poppy song Waking Up, and then you have this intro, and I'm just like, what are they doing? And then it just hits. And this super unique intro that I first rolled my eyes at has really grown on me with time, and it's very experimental, and I like that they combine that with the heavy guitars. I think the drums might be one of my biggest problems with this entire album. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes and I already said that, but yeah, you could definitely hear it on this song as well. I'm not a big fan of the effects on his voice in this song, and the drums are a little too loud. It's pretty typical Starset lyrics as far as the lyrics go. Kind of reminds me of the song Unbecoming, because it's talking about monsters and demons, and you know, there's a Starset song called Monster, and there's a Starset song called My Demons. So, yeah, pretty typical Starset lyrics as far as lyrics go. But, I mean, you can't get over the experimentation in this song. So I have to give this song an 8 out of 10. Last but certainly not least, we have the song Diving Bell. There's a beautiful atmosphere throughout this entire song. And it's a very different, unique song for Starset. The bell texture in the background adds a unique aspect to this song, and the lyrics are so sad and beautiful. I don't know why I like lyrics that are just sad, but I do. This is a great album closer, and in my opinion, the ending to this song is the best part of the song. How the ending just snaps off, you know, and how you're expecting for it to be such a beautiful cinematic ending, and then it just broken on the bottom like a refugee, and it's just done. And that kind of illustrates the disparaging lyrics and the disparaging theme in this song. The theme talking about how you can't save me. I need to go down and just get away from me. I'm working on myself. It's so good. I also like the chanting in the end. A lot of people don't like the chanting, but I think it's a very unique closer, and the lyrics are such an inspiring way to cap off this album. I give Diving Bell a 9 out of 10. Okay, I'm sorry I've gone really long on this album review, but I'll just give you guys a few of my thoughts on this album as a whole. Positives of this album: they're definitely pushing their sound, they're definitely trying new things, and they have some things that work on this album, as well as, you know, a lot of the lyrics on this album are very well done. The production on this album, I think, is done so well. Most of the time, some of the drum beats are kind of bad choices, and some of the and Telekinetic are bad choices. But overall, when you listen to it, the sound really surrounds, and it's got some good low end and bass to it. And of course, Dustin Bates' singing is flawless as usual, per usual. Now let's get into the negatives of this album. I have quite a few negatives on this album. I've kind of a mixed opinion on this album, to tell you the truth, and I don't think this album has surpassed either Transmissions or Vessels in any way. But my biggest negatives would be the idea that they went a little too electronic. Like I said before, an album called Divisions, you'd think they'd get heavier, but they don't. They only have a few decently heavy songs. Another one is there's only one screaming section on this album. You can tell they're trying to go a little softer and trying to appeal to the masses a little bit more. Also, the lyrics seem pretty filler. I don't want to compare this album entirely to Skillet's album Unleashed, but there are aspects of it that remind me of it. You know, I really like a lot of the instrumentals on here, but the lyrics are filler, and was one of my biggest problems with Skillet's album Unleashed. What else? I think those are the three biggest ones: the electronics, no screaming, and the fact that the lyrics seem very filler. Overall, my overall rating of this album would have to be an 8 out of 10. That's kind of a low rating for a Starset album, in my opinion. You know, I've been bouncing between whether to give it a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. But really, if you give this album time and let it grow on you, there are a lot of good things you can take from it. While it's not perfect, it's definitely experimental, and it's definitely pushing the envelope of Starset's sound. Okay, I'm sorry I've gone a little long on this album review, but this is an album you really got to dig into to understand whether it's good or not. Thank you so much for sticking with me if you're at the end of this video. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Coming soon, I do album reviews, I do song reviews like this. I'm hopefully gonna have more album reviews coming in the future, because there are a lot of album reviews that are albums that are gonna be dropped, as well as albums that have already been dropped that I want to review. War of Ages new album, maybe Korn's new album, I don't know, we'll see. But if you have some albums you want to see me review, drop them in the comments below, as well as if you have any albums you think could make the list for albums of the year, or songs you think could make the list for songs of the year, drop those in the comments below as well. I'm trying to gather all of those as we near the end of the year, so I can do a end of the year countdown. That's going to be pretty fun. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't hesitate to hit that like button. I'll catch you later. Peace out.